You know, you're gonna be the only rational man left on this island after I leave tomorrow.
Where are you going?
I am going on the Aurora.
The Aurora, what is that?
It's a floating asylum for shark fanatics. Pure research, 18 months at sea.
Martin hates boats. Martin hates water. Martin sits in his car when we go on the ferry to the mainland. I guess it's a childhood thing. There's a clinical name for it, isn't there?
Drowning. Listen, is it true that most people get attacked by sharks in 3 feet of water, about 10 feet from the beach?
Yeah.
And that before people started to swim for recreation, I mean, before sharks knew what they were missing, that a lot of these attacks weren't reported.
That's right.
Now, this shark that swims alone.
Rogue.
What's it called?
Rogue.
Rogue, yeah. Now, this guy, he keeps swimming around in a place where the feeding is good until the food supply is gone, right?
It's called territoriality. It's just theory that I happen to agree with.
Then why don't we have one more drink and go down and cut that shark open?
Martin? Can you do that?
I can do anything. I'm the chief of police.
Jawgust. 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 Jawgust, 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 jawgust. Jawgust is back once again. Jaws is 50, so I thought, my friends, for you to come with me as I go back to Amity. A 31-day podcast, talking 4 minutes of Jaws each day. It will be another month-long show for me, and I hope to see you there, 'cause Jawgust is back again.
Good morning, Jawgust fans. It's Monday, Jawgust 11th, which means it's the 11th day of Jawgust, it's the 11th day of Golden Jawgust, and it means for the 11th day in a row, I am here talking about 4 minutes of Jaws, and I'm recording this 4 minutes before 8 a.m., which means I got up extra early to podcast about Jaws to you, the people of Earth. And to be fair, I've already been up for a good 2.5 hours. My dog got me up extra early. You try to walk her in the morning, and she's like, I'll walk around the yard. I don't want to leave the yard. There's too many good smells. At one point, she just stares off in the distance, and you get behind her. She's a beagle, so it's always the nose that leads everything. And she's always got her head down, sniff, 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 sniff. But then sometimes she'll look up and she'll just have this blank stare on her face. And you just follow the eye line. So if you get behind her, you just look at where her head is pointing and you just draw a straight line and look up. And sure as shit, there'll be a rabbit there 90% of the time. She does not know what to do with a rabbit. You know, beagles are notoriously hunting dogs. If they'll stick around for the while the food supply is there. A rogue beagle will stick around while the feeding is good. they'll stay in one area, like my yard. It's a theory called territoriality. It's just a theory, but it's one I happen to agree with. She sometimes she'll want to walk, but she did not want to today. But she sure did want to stare at that rabbit. Now, she will not sneak up and eat this rabbit. She won't even get near this rabbit. She will stare at it and she will slowly pace towards it. You ever see like nature videos and you see a giant lion slowly padding his way over the fields or the prairie? What the hell? Where are lions? They're on the preserve, wherever they are. And then they'll attack. She'll just sit there and stare at it until it runs off, and then she'll be like, it never happened. She'll just walk on, like we'll do a rail trail. She'll stop, follow the eye line. There's a rabbit. So I have to go up. The rabbit just stares like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, somebody's got to break. So I go up and I'll kind of take a few steps to scare the rabbit off. And then my beagle's like, all right, let's keep going. And that's kind of what happened this morning. I did a little reading. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet, so I got to do that right away. And then it's back to work within a half hour. I gotta start working in about 8:30. So you have me until then. I don't know if I can safely say I'm going to go a half hour. Yesterday was probably one of the shorter episodes of Jawgust, and this one today, it's another 4 minutes that feels quick because the majority of it is sitting around the dinner table. There's no shark action. There's no major behind the scenes action that you could really talk about. I just assume that Brody's drinking grape juice, that Roy Scheider is drinking grape juice, or as my friend Dave likes to call him, Roy Schneider. I assume they're not actually drinking alcohol, but I'll tell you one thing, Roy Scheider he can definitely play. I mean, this movie, every time I see it, I'm like, he is an underrated thespian of an actor. Like, he is an artist. He plays earnest. He plays happy. He plays sad. He plays angry. He plays drunk. He does it all perfect. So our 4 minutes today pick up right with that perfect little icebreaker from Hooper to Brody, where he's like, how was your day? And Brody just kind of looks at him and says, swell, and gives a little laugh. He then mentions that he didn't know what you'd be serving, so he brought red and white. So he really was inviting himself to dinner. Even though he's late, dinner's already done. You could see he's a very forward young man. He's like, is anyone going to eat this? And he just takes some leftovers that's on the plate, on the table, and they're like, no. Now, I'm imagining that room must stink because I just realized there's an ashtray filled with, I count 5 cigarettes. I think I see a pack open right there. So that room stinks of cigarettes, and they're easily smoking in front of Sean. Again, this was 1975. People didn't know any better. Now, I grew up in somewhat similar settings. My dad was the chief of police for a small island, and my mother wore bandanas, but she wasn't an islander. No, my parents, when I was a kid, they both smoked. And I remember just thinking, oh, that's what adults do when I'm an adult. I will also smoke. And then I think I was in like 4th grade or something where I heard about the dangers of smoking, and I came home and I cried and I made a big stink. I like to think that I was the impotence. That doesn't sound right. Impetus, maybe. I was the reason that they both quit smoking. That's in my story, in my head canon. It makes sense. I'm almost positive my mother never smoked again, and I'm very positive that my dad would bum smokes, and he would smoke right now if he could. I don't think I've seen him smoke in years and years and years, but every so often he would steal a Lucy. Is that what they call them? I remember there were these 2 older ladies who lived up our hill, and I think my dad would offer to walk my wife and my dog at the time so that he could go up the hill, talk with them, and share a smoke with them. I mean, this is going on, well over a decade ago. So I don't, and I remember getting in his car going, Dad, you need to cover up the smell if you want to have one. He's like, what? But I haven't noticed that in a long, long time. And those two old women, they don't live up there anymore. And I hate to think why, but I have a feeling it has to do with, cigarettes and being old. It's just my guess. But I don't think I've ever noticed the amount of smokies all over the Brody table. I remember being a kid and seeing like the haze of smoke as the sunshine shining in. So at least they're all done smoking maybe they smoked before dinner. That's my guess. He smoked before dinner. When Ellen said, I'd like to talk to my husband too, you could just see that he is bummed. And Hooper, what I love is Hooper just digs right in. It's just, everyone's quiet. It's depressed. It's a little tense, but I'm hungry. I had a long day and I'm going to eat. And that's when Ellen starts talking to him and we get a sense of how Hooper started to love sharks.
My husband tells me you're in sharks.
Excuse me. Well, yes, I never heard it quite put that way, but yes, I am. I love sharks.
You love sharks.
Yeah, I love them. When I was 12 years old, my father got me this boat, and I went fishing off of Cape Cod. And I hooked a scup, and as I was reeling it in, I hooked a 4.5-foot baby thresher shark who proceeded to eat my boat. He ate my oar hooks and my seat cushions. He turned an inboard into an outboard, scared me to death. And I swam back to shore. And when I was on the beach, I turned around and I actually saw my boat being taken apart. And ever since then, I have been studying sharks. And that's why I know that I'm going to go to the Institute tomorrow and tell them that you still have a shark problem here.
Why do you have to tell them that?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought that you told me the shark was caught. And I heard it on the news. I heard it on the Cape station.
They caught a shark, not the shark. Not the shark that killed Chrissy Watkins. And probably not the shark that killed the little boy. Which I wanted to prove today by cutting the shark open. But you want to let that breathe for nothing.
There's a few things to unpack there. Number one, we see that Hooper loves sharks. He loves them. And he tells us a little story about how a shark ate his boat. But did you notice how smitten Ellen is? I mean, maybe there is some trace leftovers from the book of how, they got their boats a-rocking. Let's just put it that way. But I just love that she just seems genuinely smitten by what he has to say. So, in his story. And it's a good story. It's a fun story. So what I like here is I actually want to go back to, I'm going to go back to the previous clip. At 3 minutes and 26 seconds into this clip, Hooper comes into the room. Brody's taking a drink. Hooper comes over. It says, he brought wine. He comes and the camera does not cut. The camera moves to the left or moves to the right, I should say, goes around the table, and Ellen sits down, Hooper sits down, and Hooper says, how was your day? That is at 3:26 or 3:24, about 3:25, we'll say. So 35 seconds of not cutting yet. Then we jump to today's clip, and we see, how was your day? My husband tells me you're into sharks. First he says, can I have the dinner? We're 30 seconds in at this point, still no clip, no cutting. And then Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss, tells his story. And it's at this point, while this is going on, Ellen is smitten. And in the background, you may not be paying attention to this because you're kind of drawn more to Hooper and his storytelling. But Brody's just very, matter-of-factly opening up the bottle of red wine. We make it 1 minute and 20 seconds before there's an edit. So it's almost 2 minutes because you have the 35 seconds yesterday, the minute 20 today, almost 2 minutes of one continuous shot that there's another one. This is going to happen again in the non-distant future. I'm talking about a long take. I love long takes because there is no place for the actors to hide. It's not like you could splice something together. Oh, we got 10 seconds here. Perfect. But then we had we cut away. Now maybe that happens at this point. Maybe it was supposed to be a longer take, because at a minute and 20 seconds, that's when we cut to Ellen saying, I thought that they caught the shark. I heard it on the news, and it's very seamless. Like it almost feels like there could just be multiple cameras catching this all at once. That's when Hooper says, you caught a shark, not the shark, not the shark that killed the girl, and probably not the shark who ate up that delicious little boy. It's at this point that Brody gets the wine open and starts to pour and pour and pour and pour in a cup that is just definitely made for like milk, maybe beer, maybe soda, and he is filling it with wine. And I don't know anything about wine. I know my brother has gone to vineyards and they have wine in their house. I think I might have a bottle of wine somewhere. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know the red wine is red. I know that white wine is like clear. It's almost like yellow. I don't know. It's white. That's about my extent of knowledge to wine. I like wine that's kind of tasty and fruity, and I could give a shit if it's, if it breathes, what the earthiness is. I don't care about the grapes. I don't care about any of that stuff. But if it's tasty, if it's sweet, I'll drink it. And even I know, though, that is a lot of wine, Chief Brody. And I like that Hooper says, oh, you want to let that breathe? Oh, never mind. Like, he basically gives up. And Ellen, one of her, like, great little moments where she sees the wine and she's like, oh, and she looks over at Chief and looks over at her husband and kind of gives this little, like, smile, like, and laughs because he pours her a little bit. He pours Hooper a little bit. And it is great. It is another great little moment where she's like, you know what? And it could be like she's genuinely smiling at the look on Roy Scheider's face. I don't know, because he is deadpan. But she's almost like, you know what? You've had a shitty day. I'll let you have this one. I won't even make a big deal. You deserve this. It's at this point that he says, you're going to be the only rational man left on this island after I leave tomorrow. And Ellen gets out of him, where are you going? He's going to be going on the Aurora. It's a floating asylum. So just for the heck of it, I typed in Aurora floating asylum because I thought maybe it's based on something real. It's a research facility, a floating research lab, basically. But what I did find was something very different. Apparently, there are a couple creators out there, comic book creators, who created a Kickstarter independent comic book called Aurora. It's Matt Stapleton and Reese Wooten, and they have or at least it's on a website called What If Stories, whatifstories.co.uk. They're British comic book creators, independent comic writers and artists. And it looks like it is three men who make up. I went under About Us, and I see Matt Stapleton, Mark Hooley, and Reese Wooten. And if you go on their main page, as far as like under their shop, they have all these comics they've created, including is that a Goonies comic book? We have the Aurora. We have Gremlins, which looks like a World War II Gremlins book, and we have Die Hard of the Dead. Do I have to read all of these? I think I do. But they also have 2 Jaws-related comics, including the Aurora, which looks like it is available to get in print from their website. It's £10. How much is a pound? I don't even know. Okay, how much is a pound? Let's look this up. It looks like that's $13.42. And the tagline, it says, I'm going on the Aurora. It's a floating asylum for shark addicts, 18 months at sea, pure research. Ever since I heard Matt Hooper utter this line, I have imagined what could have happened aboard the Aurora. Reese Wooten has created a beautiful poster, which we currently have limited. Oh, that's the poster. That's not the comic book. Interesting. What about the actual comic? I want to see Aurora, the comic. I don't know if that's available. But they've also created another comic called Hendrix. I think what if I read correctly, the Aurora is being worked on now, because it looked like the Kickstarter just started or had a last update in July. But there are Hendrix comics. Yes, Hendrix, Deputy Hendrix. Is it Leonard Hendrix? He has his own comic from this What If stories. I gotta see if I can get these digitally somewhere, because I have no need to buy these in print, but I definitely would read them. That'd be fun to do, the Aurora and Hendrix. It's just funny that I happened to look up the Aurora, and again, there's something happening currently related to the Aurora that Hooper will be traveling on. So I'll put a link to their website and to the Kickstarter, but it looks like the Kickstarter is already done. I can't pledge $13 to get Aurora issue 1, but it looks like it says estimated delivery August 2025. So this is happening right now. They last updated the website just a few weeks ago. So that's kind of interesting that actually exists and that's out there. I like reading expanded universes sometimes, and it's actually a cool drawing. It looks almost like Hooper when he goes under to look at Ben Gardner's boat, but the reflection in his goggles is that of a shark coming straight at him. So, I guess you'd say he's in the cage too. There's that later on, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I just wanted to mention that one little line, the Aurora, and that it kind of does tell a story of what was this guy planning to do? What was it going to be? Is that what he was doing in Jaws 2? I don't think so. He was definitely busy, though, because he did not want to come back and deal with Amity again. Screw that. But I just like that someone took one little line and created a whole story based on that. So he tells them that, where he's going to be on a boat for 18 months. And Ellen's like, oh, Martin doesn't like boats. He doesn't like the water. He stays in the car when we take the ferry over. There's a name for it. What's it called? And he goes, drowning. And it's almost like it's a great line. It's a little bitchy, a little passive aggressive, I'd say. But Ellen was being lighthearted when she was talking about Chief's fear of water. I mean, everyone seems to know it. Friggin' Harry knows it. We know all about you, Chief. And again, you bring that up, he's going to be like, that's a shitty hat, Harry. Get the hell out of my face. And even with Ellen, he seems to have a little bugaboo when people bring it up. He's like, yeah, drowning. I don't want to drown. I guess you like drowning. Not me. I'm anti-drowning. Okay. So he goes on to ask Hooper a few things. Is it true that most shark attacks happen in shallow water? Is it true that before people did swimming recreation, that a lot of these reports went undocumented? He asks about a rogue shark and the food supply and the territoriality. And I love that Hooper's like, that's just a theory I happen to agree with. And then he says, well, why don't we have another drink? So he's having another drink. Never mind that giant drink he has there. He wants one more drink, which is why he's lit later on the boat. And he says, why don't we go down and cut that fish open? And Ellen's like, you can do that? And he's great line. I can do anything. I'm the chief of police. He gives a little drink. And that's the majority of this segment. We do jump over to them cutting that tiger shark open. Now, unlike the shark that was hanging on the docks, this is a special effect. I read that it was a much more cruder model created, because you don't really have to see much of this thing, so that Richard Dreyfuss could cut into it, and that disgusting white water, salt water, bile, whatever it is, which I don't care. I don't have smell-o-vision, but when that comes out of the shark, you can almost feel that it smells. You can almost sense how horrible it smells. As Hooper says, I'll start in the alimentary canal and open the digestive tract. And he cuts it open. The stink smells. You could see Hooper, he's like, Brody, he's standing back. Hooper doesn't care. He gets right in there. But Brody's a good 4 or 5 feet back. I mean, he's helping. I'm holding the flashlight. I'm helping. But his other hand is just covering his face as Hooper slices in, and that white stuff, which gets Hooper again right there, doesn't care, and you see that white start to come out, and Brody takes a step back even further. He's like, "I'll be back here. I got the flashlight, though. I'm still helping." And Hooper doesn't. He gets his complete dungaree outfit ruined, or at least it must stink like fish, because the first thing we see is Hooper throwing a fish head out. And he's digging around, and he's got another fish. This one's a full life-size fish. These are definitely real fish that are being, sacrificed for the art of filmmaking. And that's where this 4 minutes ends. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I sacrifice my well-being for the art of Jawgust, because it is now 8:45, and I should be working. I should have started working about 15 minutes ago. But here's the thing. I will just work 15 minutes late. I will make up for it, or I work for a short lunch. I mean, technically my hours are 8:30 to 4:30. I don't think I ever finish at 4:30. So you know what? This 15 minutes is mine. It's mine, and I'm going to use it to talk more Jawgust and to finish out today's Jawgust for you, the fine people of, again, Earth, I want to say. So I am going to finish things up now, though, because I really do need to get to work. So the big thing we learned today is Hooper is planning on leaving tomorrow, and Brody basically buys into everything Hooper has to say. So he's like, all right, let's go down and cut that shark open. We get a lot of nice character stuff in, during this 4 minutes. A very quiet time. But as far as story progression, that's the only thing you get here. That Brody, again, we reiterate his dislike of water and boats, which again is a good little setup for the fact that he has to overcome these fears. And I said Hooper's leaving tomorrow, and now they're going to try to figure out if for certain they're going to find any human remains inside this tiger shark. When you think about what these two characters are doing right now, what's going through their head, it must be like, oh my God, they must be setting themselves up for the possibility that Alex Kittner could just roll right out of that belly. Hooper probably really just has full doubt, so he would be completely shocked. But Brody's got to be in between, like, what's he hoping for here? I mean, I guess he's hoping that he actually does see the kid, which is, disgusting. But at the same time, he has a community that is counting on him, and he's already let them down. Well, he's let some of the residents down, but the people, the business owners, they're the ones who are really like, I hope they're not washing their hands of him. Like, Brody, what are you doing? He should be staunchly saying, I was pressured by the selectmen and yada, yada, yada. I did say I needed to finish and get back to work, didn't I? So anyway, they cut this shark open. What do they find out? We'll have to wait until tomorrow for that. But until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. On Facebook, the Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts. That's because the website is fansnotexperts.com. That's where you'll find every episode of Jawgust, every episode of Geek Mentality, and every episode of every podcast that I do, fansnotexperts.com. That's it. I'm done. I need to start work. I will see you tomorrow, my friends, but until then, the beaches are closed. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.